island of Matanui, 6 mighty Toa must rise against evil. To succeed, they must join forces and find the Kanoi masks of power. 6 heroes, 1 destiny. You can discover their skills, unlock their powers, and join their quest. Can you find the power? Bionicle. Each set sold separately. From great victories, mighty heroes arise. The Toa had repelled the Borok swarms and were forever transformed. The Toa received masks of greater power, improved body armor, and new enhanced tools giving them surprising dual-action abilities. Toa Nuva. Bionicle. Each set sold separately.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to my first ever Bionicle discussion stream, I guess you can call it. And I've been waiting for the perfect opportunity to talk about Bionicle live with my audience, of course. And I figured, you know what, the best way to do it is to bring in a real expert and someone that's such an expert that they handcrafted an amazing game, unofficial game that should have been a real game for the Nintendo 64. And if you guys remember, I live streamed it about a couple months ago. So I've been really looking forward to chatting with this feller here, and I'll bring him in here in a second. But appreciate everybody that's already here in the chat. So I'm going to just address the chat first, and then I'm going to be having this conversation with my new friend here. But what's up over there, Carl VarnG Podcast? Thanks for coming on by. I think you're streaming here in about a couple hours too, right, buddy? And Nosferatu, always here to troll me about Bionicles. Appreciate you, man. And of course, Abomination AJ, what's up, man? I know you'll be lurking, but appreciate it. So, without further ado, I know more people will be coming on by later. I'm going to bring in my good friend, Mr. or Mrs. I'm just messing. Superstupidy, what's up? What's up, my brother?
Yo, what's up? I'm the Bionicle expert.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. I mean, expert like you. The level of detail with the ROM hack, man. I was very impressed. Very impressed. So I know a lot of people that watched me play were probably like, "Oh, this looks really interesting," but they couldn't fully comprehend just how epic it was to run around in a 3D environment like that. So. But yeah, anyways, appreciate it, dude, and I'm glad that we found time to be able to do this and hang out and just have some fun chilling and talking about Bionicle, man. So, um, I wanted to start off with kind of like, I guess you say they like to call it icebreakers, right? But I just want to
Right.
ask you we'll get more into depth later, but for right now, what is your favorite Bionicle character? Like, is there? I mean, it could be any of them. Do you have a specific one?
Yeah, do you mean set design or like lore?
Okay, see, this is a real guy right here. Let's go with set design because I always like talking about the toys, but yeah, let's go with set design.
Yeah, I think I always kind of liked Brutaka. I feel like Brutaka is one of the more satisfying ones. I like that massive mask. What's it called? The Olmec? It's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I've heard a lot of people they really like that set design, especially with Axon that same
Yeah,
year.
Axon's cool too, but I feel like Brutaka's
Something else, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you remember? And then you can tell me your lore answer later. But for Butaka, what was his mass power? Because he had a special ability.
Yeah, he opens dimensional rifts, right? And
That's right.
there's the whole plot later that came out in serials where Takanuva has to open and he starts falling into all these other dimensions and getting into trouble.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I remember that. I'm gonna while we're talking, I'm gonna try my best to share my screen, and so people can have some visual images of who we're talking about. So yeah, this is your favorite set right here, Brutaka. Um, for those of you guys watching in the chat, and yeah, so I guess lore wise, is it the same character? Is it somebody else? Like who's like your favorite character lore wise?
I haven't really thought about it that much. I always liked the air characters,
Yeah.
but but I haven't really thought about it that much. I don't know. I like Kongu.
Oh, nice. Okay, another
y-
Inika. I'm sensing a theme here.
well, yeah. It's that, but also it's because he's the pilot in the Gukko Resistance Force, right? I
Yes.
like that. I like the Mataran. Anyway, that's the reason I modeled him and ported him into the game for my developer commentary of the game as well.
Oh, I can't. Yeah, so I know before stream I was telling you about it. I haven't gotten to Lee Koro yet, but I'm looking forward
Mm-hmm.
to
Did
that.
you make it to? You didn't make it to Lewahi.
No, not no. I
Yeah,
was on the road to it, I think. Yeah.
yeah. You have the ability to get there, but it's kind of hidden, so you
Oh,
have to
okay.
you have to be thorough to find it. Well, not that thorough, but it's around. It's kind of I built the overworld a little bit too big. It's kind
Oh,
of
okay, okay.
I feel like I could have streamlined the overworld a bit, but I really wanted to get the Kininui in there. Kind of a mistake, I think. I mean, I could have put the Kininui in there, but I feel like anyway, it was one of the earliest maps I built, actually, probably the earliest, so that's why it's kind of a mess.
Well, so I think you kind of already answered this, but I'm curious, what would be your favorite year in Bionicle between 2001 and 2010?
Let's see, I got into it, like, right around 2005 when they were releasing the, Hordika Flash animations,
Oh,
so
yes.
that's when I got into it, but so I was, like, I was, like, right there for the reveal of, 2006 stuff, so there's, like, a special place in my heart for 2006.
Well, you and I are two of the same because I basically am in the same boat. So I remember, you said you discovered the Hordika Flash animation. So that means you were probably perusing Bionicle.com quite a bit then back in the day.
Right. Well, that was like when I first started getting into computer. Well, I'm not like into computers, but that was when I first started like getting into the internet and stuff, and like
Yes.
looking around on Lego.com for games and stuff. So yeah.
That's awesome. Same here, dude. Exactly same thing with me. And I just remember spending countless hours on Bionicle.com, looking at the toys, looking at the lore, playing Madden New Online 2, and only getting
Yeah, yeah,
past.
yeah. Never getting past Gakoro. Yeah,
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
lost on the old Fusa path forever and getting scared because you'll never get back to Gakoro. Yeah.
yeah. It's funny because you said that in your one of your developer commentaries about, yeah, like everyone only remembers Manually Online 2 because of Gakoro, because after that it's just like what happens in the rest of this game, and you
They
spend so
just
much time
like
there.
ran out of money.
Yeah, I mean it's still a cool game, but all right, that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, Inaika, or I mean, sorry, 2006. So Paraka, Inaika, of course you mentioned Brutaka and Axon, and then we also had Vezin, the seventh Paraka, which is like it was a really interesting, I guess, story thing that they did with that. But now, I'm guessing I already know the answer to this, but your favorite elemental power, I'm guessing, is air, because you like Kongu and the Lematoran.
Hmm. I liked the air characters because, well, primarily because they're green. And that was my favorite color as a kid, so I was just like, oh, green. Yes. Um and I like their personalities too, but I don't know if I were to pick an element. I feel like air is probably not the best one. I like the jungle, so I like that, but I feel like stone is probably a better element. I feel like it's hard to beat good old rock.
Yes. So
Good
I
old
guess
rock. Nothing beats that.
yes, yes. Well, that's interesting because I remember later on discovering that they had developed a Toa power called Toa or Element of the Greens or something like that, which it's weird because it's supposed to imply like jungle power, like using like the plant life as a power, but the name of it was weird because it's like Element of the Greens. So you can apply it to a specific green leaf, out there instead instead of the
Yeah.
jungle plants. But yeah, okay. So stone, yeah, and of course, did you ever try to learn the good old tree speak?
Oh, well, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I actually got to write tree speak for the villagers in Lake Koro for the game. I was I was debating for a while whether I wanted to actually get into it enough to do that, but I ended up having a lot of fun with it.
Oh,
I
that's
don't know how to
awesome.
speak it, but I did look around for good ways to make it work. So.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to like getting to that now. Yeah, that's man, that's see, this is why I really like I or I think I told my chat this, but when I first booted it up and started playing it, and I watched the trailer before I played the game, but when I actually was playing the game, I was just blown away, like I said, to the level of detail. Everything from you have like the Bionicle like language like on the walls,
Mhm,
in some of
yeah,
those areas. I mean, the Toa stones is basically what you're collecting. Um
right.
I mean, just a lot of the stuff, man. It was like this is insane. Like, I wish like for other fan projects, not Bionicle related, but like other mediums out there, that people would put this attention to detail to it. But then again, this took you what, like 4 years to develop, right? If
It
I
took
remember.
2
Oh,
years,
2 years.
but to be fair, it wasn't like 2 years of casual building. It was like 2 years of every weekend I'm spending all day on this, and every evening after work I'm working on it a little bit, and every morning before work I'm cranking out levels. So it
Oh my
wasn't
goodness,
like.
you're really grinding it out then. Sheesh. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, well, no time to waste.
Yeah, man, I get that's impressive. Well, we'll talk about Takua 64 later, but I really want to talk more about Bionicle with you. So, I know you already shared like your first memory or experience with Bionicle was the Hordika Flash player animations, which I'll have to try to pull up here in a minute. But do you remember like a specific toy that was like your first interaction with Bionicle?
Let's see. I know I got Toa Anua Hordika. That was like my first one. And then I think I started picking up because my brother got Wenua because like the Wenua animation had just come out and we were all like, "Wow, wow. He's so cool."
Yes.
So he got Wenua and I got Anua. And then I think I like collected Keelorak shortly after that. I don't remember,
Oh, nice.
but
Okay.
yeah, so, like, it was those 2 are, like, the earliest ones I can think of.
So, I guess I should have warned people in the chat, and the replay gang. There's gonna be a lot of Bionicle terms you're gonna hear, and you're not
Yeah.
gonna know who they are.
Yeah,
Um,
Keelorak is a green spider with massive fangs.
yeah, I think. What I'll probably do is I'll probably cut or edit this into a video and put some like stuff on screen so people can see who we're talking about. Because some of these names are really hard to pronounce even to this day, and I
Yeah,
know.
I don't know all of them either, especially when you get into, like, the Vaki and the Bohrok and the Rakshi,
Yes.
it's like they all sound the same.
Yeah, it's that's funny, but so yeah, Anua, Wanua, that's how I pronounce them, but there's like no like correct way. I'm not gonna. I mean, you
Well, yeah, you can't the I guess the reason you have to say Anua is that if you say Onua, then it gets confused with the Earth Toa from from
oh, you're right.
2001.
Yes, yes, yes. You're right. Yep,
So
yep.
that's why, yeah.
I'm trying to find a image of the Flash animation, but I can't find it. So hopefully the replaying gang will be able to see it later. But yeah, I remember that. That was something that I don't know about other toy products or other games or whatever, but Lego really spent time and money on those like flash animations for their promos, and they were pretty cool because they added a bunch of like story that you got to see the like toys in action or in the universe, I should say. Um, what did you think about like so we saw you've seen the movies, right? Like Mask of Light,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to blank on the second one. It's City of Legends, right? I think is the second one,
Yeah, correct.
and then Web of Shadows obviously is the third movie.
Yeah.
So what did you think about like in the animation? They didn't talk; they just had like these weird like robotic like tones and then there was like
Right.
subtitle, which is even funnier because like if you think like it's marketed towards like kids, right? Kids aren't going to be reading subtitles, they're going to want to hear it, but I guess it forced you to kind of read as a kid, which is a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like what did you think about that? I guess the sound effects that they used in those flash animations.
Well, I think personally, like, I think it's extremely it feels extremely unique. Like there's something about the aura and the atmosphere that the Mad Nui Online game gave off that just made it so extremely interesting. And the other Flash stuff as well. It just the fact that they didn't talk and you didn't see facial expressions or mouth movement or anything, it just kind of forced them to create the characters through body language and stuff, and their actions, and I
Yeah.
think it's like really interesting. My personal opinion of the movies is that they kind of lost that magic for that reason. I don't like the moving mouths on the masks. It freaks
Oh
me out.
yes, yeah. Same here. Same here.
And the eyebrows, why do they have eyebrows?
Yeah, dude, that is so true. I just, man, I guess you could say I was slightly traumatized watching those films because like you get like some amazing CGI promos, right? Like what I showed off in the beginning, and then everyone knows the famous when Bionicle was ending, they did like an 8 minute like story catch up, and all of that was basically like these really nice CGI promo videos slapped together. I just don't understand why they decided to go with the weird like you said moving eyebrows and mouths for like the movie when they could have just done like the CGI from the promos. That would have been perfect, and I think
Yeah,
kids would have still been fine understanding expression and emotions from that.
yeah, I think it's a style. Like they wanted something more expressive, I guess. But yeah, I never really loved I know that's kind of controversial. I know a lot of people like the style of the movie characters, and that's how they'll draw these characters and how they'll make mocks and things to try to more closely resemble the movies.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I think I kind of lost my train of thought. I was thinking I
Well,
had a side, but
Well, I was gonna add, I actually did like the fourth movie, The Legend Reborn, I think is what it's called,
yeah,
because at least at that time, the Bionicle characters, like the toys themselves, had mouths. So when they did the movie,
yeah,
them talking with their mouths made more sense.
yeah. It
Um,
wasn't, yeah,
it was like it
it
looked
wasn't as
better.
jarring.
Yeah, it wasn't as jarring. No, I think they still had eyebrows. I'm pretty sure like Matanui still had eyebrows with his like mask, the way his mask was designed. But that movie, like obviously the animation quality is much better because they had like more budget for it. But it sucked that like a majority of the movie was out in the sand. It felt like I was watching like Star Wars
Yeah.
all over again.
Yeah,
Um,
like, yeah, when they just, "What do we do? We're kinda low on budget. Let's go to the middle of the desert and walk around."
yes, yes. So yeah, man, that's awesome. Oh, actually, and speaking of animations, I really liked the 2006 Paraka Inaika animations because those were more interactive. Yeah, I'm sure you remember that, right? There was like mini games implemented into those animations.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, those were, and then especially like towards the end, there was the strategy game that they implemented where it was like
Yeah, yeah.
basically elemental battles. Like you had to like position your Toa and like use them, elemental versus elemental against the Paraka, which was odd because I think per lore the Paraka never really had elemental powers. At least
Right.
I don't remember that. I know their weapons, like for example, like Hacken had like he had like a laser gun, so you could say like that's kind of fire-ish. And then Thok had like that frozen his like ice gun or whatever. But anyways, it was still cool to see that. But yeah, I guess I forgot to even answer my own question from the beginning about my favorite Bionicle. Um, so I'm a 2006 Enika fanboy. I like the whole promo they did with the rock band All American Rejects, all the music
Yeah,
around
yeah.
that.
Yeah, Free the Band and
Yeah, free the
yeah,
band. Yeah.
and
The,
the mini games and stuff that came with it, like, Island Investigation where you play as Pirak and you have to, like, grab the band's items without the Paraka seeing you, that stealth
yes,
game, that
yes.
was crazy.
Yes. That one I never could get to work on my computer. I don't know if I was like clicking in the wrong areas and stuff. Like it just would not like let me register and like collect items.
Yeah,
There
I
was
remember a similar experience too. Yeah.
Yeah, there was also Inaika Island Assault, which was like really hard.
Mhm.
It was a
That game's hard as nails. I had to beat it on my show, but it was kind of rough.
Yeah, it was. I never was able to beat it. I want to play it. There was another one that was called. It was one with the Matoran. I think it was called Matoran Escape. Um,
Yep.
that one I think I beat. It wasn't too bad,
Yeah, that
but
one was easier for
yeah.
sure.
And then one of the most interesting ones for me was the Voyanui online game, and basically an RPG that you can play for free. And that thing was like you said, I like your expression, tough as nails. Like that was
Yeah.
definitely a tough RPG as a kid to play.
It's long too, like for a flash game like that, it was long. Uh,
Unnecessarily long, yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of padding and walking around, like walking back and forth. Like he just starts telling you to go back and forth to do all these things. It's got good atmosphere though. It's a fun game. It's just I don't think it would sell apart from the Bionicle name recognition.
Oh
It's a little
yeah.
bit clumsy.
Yeah, I remember always running into that stupid ash bear and like just
Yeah,
getting wrecked by it.
yeah, the
Or
lava ape guy.
sorry,
Yeah,
the lava ape. Yeah, my
in the
bad.
log. Yeah.
Yeah, he had like it was weird because it wasn't a boss fight. It was just a wild mob, I guess you can say, that was like super OP, had high health, and
Yeah,
your introduction to them, you're like super under level. So like you're supposed to just avoid it because there's just no way of
right.
beating it.
Yeah, he's a part of the tutorial where you're supposed to use the hiding move so that you can avoid detection.
Yes, and I remember always getting to the first Paraka, which was Raydak, right? I think it
Yeah.
was Raydak, um, and just getting bodied by him every single time.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta level up a bit before you beat him. Yeah, I think when I did that on my show, I like made it all the way to the end of the game, and then I came in contact with Vizok, and they just like made him invincible. So I just cheated in the Nui blaster and killed him in like one shot.
Oh,
And
yes, yes. I didn't know about the Nui Blaster till like years later when I found the cheat codes. I was like, this is insane. You could like one shot every enemy in the game with
yeah,
this weapon.
yeah, yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, yeah, so I guess sorry, for favorite Bionicle, it has to be Jowler, Toa Jowler,
Mhm.
Inaika. Man, the Inaika line was so
Those
cool because
Yeah, those
they lit
light
up.
swords were so those are the light swords were so good.
Yeah. And the quad or the like quad shot Xamasphere launchers, so like
Mhm.
and which they had like cool colors to them, like
Yeah.
that
Oh
was
man.
yeah, that was awesome. And I guess favorite element. I don't know. I guess I'm a basic guy. I do like fire a lot, the fire element a lot. I've always been a fan of like the fire Toa, even though I'm with you. I like green is probably one of my favorite my favorite color, but um yeah, I would have to go with fire element. But yeah, 2006, a lot of good memories playing computer games and whatnot. And we'll get into it later with a different subject, but it also spawned I think the best console Bionicle game, which is Bionicle Heroes. Have you ever had experience with that in particular?
Yeah. Bionicle Heroes. I bought the GameCube game when I was pretty young, and
Oh,
that's like
nice.
one of the games that I can think of like that when I think of the experience of being a kid and like having to go to bed and not play games and then waking up at like 6 o'clock in the morning to play the game that I just got. Like that's the one that comes to mind. I remember specifically being like, "All right, it's Bionicle Heroes time. I'm awake. Let's
Yes.
go."
So the GameCube version, that's interesting. I've been trying to hunt for it and like add it to my collection because I have the PC version, so the old
Mm-hmm.
PC one. I have the 360 version, which they're both the same. But then what's interesting is the DS version and the Game Boy version are actually two different games. They're
Yeah,
completely different.
I haven't played the DS version yet. I really want to though. It's like kind of far down on my list. I have so many games to play.
Right.
but
Yeah, the
but
backlog.
yeah, classic Steam backlog, right? But it looks like pretty fun. Like I booted it up for a minute just to see how it controlled and stuff. but it looks like it's basically like a Bionicle sort of version of Metroid Prime Hunters,
100%.
which
I'm
is a
glad you
game
got
that
that.
which is a game that I love. So when I found out, like, I never knew that the DS had a different version of Bionicle Heroes. I found out about that later, and I was like, why didn't I know about the Bionicle Metroid Prime Hunters? Like, why
Dude,
did?
basically peak gameplay mixed with peak toy line, and it's like a fantastic. And the soundtrack's great too. The soundtrack is awesome.
Yeah, I have all the soundtrack. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, so you had the GameCube version. I grew up with the DS version, and I still have my copy of it, and it's fun just to go back and play it. But recently, a friend of mine, he sold me his Game Boy Advance copy of the game, and that's like a completely different version of the game. So there's like between the console and then the DS handheld and the Game Boy handheld, it's like three different versions of Bionicle Heroes, and it's pretty funny. I don't know about you, but I always like to say that the console version is like basically Gears of War, mixed in with like Lego building, as far as like
Yeah.
over the shoulder shooting.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
I'm very curious now. The GameCube version, I think it probably runs at 60 frames, which is like the superior way of playing those games. And then I wonder how the graphics look, because if it came out on 360, the 360 is obviously going to be a little bit stronger, so the graphics would look a lot nicer. I'm very curious to see that someday. But that's awesome. Did you particularly play the Bionicle game, the movie game? Do you remember that one on the GameCube?
Yep, yep, that's actually that. So when I first, like, I got into video games kind of late. Like, I was a bit older when I got into video games. So I had a friend that had a GameCube, so I would go over and play Mario Kart Double Dash on his
Peak.
every once in a while. Yeah, so I have a huge amount of nostalgia for that. But anyway, his family bought a Wii, and when they upgraded to the Wii, they gave me the GameCube as a hand-me-down. And one of the games that I got with it, it was like Finding Nemo, and it was Bionicle the game. So that's actually one of the first console games I'd ever played.
That's
And I
awesome.
I love that game. It's I know people don't like it, but and there's a lot of inspiration from that game in Takua 64 as well. You might have noticed I pulled a bunch of textures from that game. A lot of the textures in Takua 64 are from that game.
Oh,
So
that makes sense now. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so for me, that game in particular, there was a garage sale in my neighborhood, and I had the GameCube at the time, and I remember just going to this garage sale, and I saw that game there. It was only like $5, and I was like, "What? I didn't know there was a console Bionicle game, and so I had to like beg my mom. I was like, "Can you please let me have $5 to buy this game?" And so I got it, and I brought it home, and I remember playing it, and I was like, what is going on in this game? Because the animation, the characters look like the movie characters, and I
yeah.
was like, this is a weird game, but I still like it because it's Bionicle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy game. It's like the animation is insane on that one.
Yeah, and the music is crazy too, because the music's like all orchestrated, and it's all
Yeah, the
like,
music's like the score in that game is like some of the best in the entire Bionicle series. It's so good.
yeah, yes, yes. I I streamed that game this year. I think it was for my was it my channel anniversary? It was like for some event, I don't know, whatever. I like reacquired that game. And yeah, I had a lot of fun playing it. I got to go back and replay it. There's some like extras to the game too. I think they added like some extra content to it. There was like it was back in the days where they added like promo trailers to other things in the game in games as well, like movie trailers or whatever.
Right,
Um,
yeah.
but that's awesome. You had that as a hand me down, but it was like an amazing hand me down to have to play that game.
Yeah, well,
Um,
we were all into Bionicle, so yeah.
well, so okay, so I'm curious now, because you hinted a little bit towards it. So it sounds like you and I came from basically the same generation. Like, how do you think, like, or what do you think caused Bionicle to really grab our attention for like the generation that we come from? Because like I mean, you probably know about the reboot, right? They did in
Yeah.
2015, and like it only lasted like a year and a half or 2 years. And I mean, we could talk about that later. But like for the
Yeah.
original Bionicle, like, what do you think sold it to people?
I don't know if I can speak about the market in general, but what did it for me was the Flash content for sure. Like when got into Lego web the website,
Yep.
like when I was looking for games and stuff, it was like Bionicle and Knights Kingdom 2. And it's like the Flash content on those two sites just like dragged me into the into the world and I got stuck in there.
Yeah, that's very accurate. The Flash games, because they were free, right? So anything that's free and that's like
Yeah.
good quality will definitely pull you in. Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, I guess like you said, besides marketing, obviously like you know what? Actually, no. It is 100% those stupid Flash games, which now it's like you can't play them because Flash is like discontinued, but there is a
Yeah,
website out
well, you have
there.
to be looking for a way to do it, yeah, like, no
Yeah.
one's gonna stumble onto a Flash game by accident, but it's not too hard to play them. Like, you can download, Flashpoint, and they've got a massive archive. You can use Ruffle in the Wayback Machine in some cases
Oh, nice.
to get stuff working, yeah, so it's not too hard to play them now. Especially now that a lot of the Bionicle fans have been doing a lot of work making converting them to HTML and stuff. So
Yes, and they're basically they're like exe files in a way where like you just download them and launch them right off the bat. Um, yeah, they're it's I will say the like one of the good points with the Bionicle community is their dedication to preservation of this like whole series. I mean
mhm.
they have some impressive like archives, the great
Yeah, it's
archives.
crazy. It's actually crazy how much of it has stayed around.
Yeah, considering, like, I mean, I'm sure Lego appreciates it because they don't have to do the work for it. Because
Yeah.
like, I mean, you know this, like, if people try to preserve Nintendo stuff, that gets like nuked from the internet pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so for those of you joining, yeah, Bionicle Flash Player games were like basically the gateway drug to the Bionicle toys. And yeah, they were free and they were pretty high quality. I always liked the art style from Manui Online. I like that art style a lot. I've always had a dream to like recreate it and like I don't know, like do something cool with it. But yeah, it's those games, man. We could talk about them for hours, but I wanted to know more about your video game taste. So I know on your channel you do a lot of different video games. You play a lot of ones. I saw some like Super Metroid on there, and of course, like you played Takua 64, your own ROM hack. But I also saw you're playing Quest for the Mask, I think it was, which is I think that's the Cancel Bionicle game, right? Is that what you were playing on your
I
channel?
think it's Masks of Power I just wrapped up. That's the
Oh, my
Bionicle
bad.
fan game.
Yes.
Well, it's the legacy version is the one that I just finished, but I have done Legend of Mana Nui. I did it earlier. It's been a while, but yeah, that was also a huge inspiration for my game as well. I dragged a lot of textures in from that one too.
Hey, you got to use what you got, and that's impressive. So I guess I want to ask you then. You could start with what is your favorite console then?
My favorite console, probably the Wii. Um, I don't know, like, PC, I think, is, like, the most convenient platform, but as far as consoles go, I like the Wii because, well, first of all, it's a little bit versatile because you can plug in GameCube controllers, but the thing about the Wii is that with the Wii remote, you can do things that other consoles can't. So it will always have that. I mean, you can emulate the Wii and stuff, so it's
Yeah.
not that PCs can't do it, but the point is that it's like a piece of hardware that you couldn't get the same experience just by using a computer, like
Yes.
you could with a new Xbox, for example, where they're basically interchangeable.
Yes, very, very true. Yeah, the Wii remote, all the games that came with that, with the pointing or the motion controls. Yeah, That's why like it kind of drives me nuts when people prefer to play like Metroid Prime on their computer with like with modern FPS controls instead of
Yeah,
playing like
it kind of ruins the game for me, frankly. The Wii remote controls are so crazy. Like it's something else. Like it's if you want to play like a twitchy first person shooter where you're flinging the mouse around and doing 360s or whatever, I feel like there are a lot of games. I feel like Metroid Prime was never meant to be played that way, and it shows.
Yes, yeah. And I played okay, so like just to go on a tangent with Prime, I've played the Prime collection, so it's basically all three of them for the Wii with the motion
Right.
controls, and I had like no issues cuz but when I know the Prime 1 and 2 was for the GameCube and those controls are like pretty difficult, but it felt
Yeah,
very
they're
comfortable.
interesting.
Yeah, it felt very comfortable on the Wii, and I probably would replay those games all over again with the motion controls. Another example would be like Link's Crossbow Training, which is like a fantastic,
Mhm.
like cheap game to play. I always thought those motion controls were perfect. I don't think I've played any Call of Duty games with the motion control or like the pointing and whatnot, but
Yeah, I don't think
um,
it would work very well.
yeah, especially like frames and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
and then also, actually, I remember playing the Bionicle Heroes game on the Wii, and that
Mhm.
I think that functioned fine. So,
It
um,
had Metroid Prime-ish controls. I remember buying it to play on my show, like, "Oh boy, this is gonna be great. It's gonna handle just like Prime. I can't believe I haven't done this before." And I don't remember why exactly, but it was a little bit disappointing the way it handled to me. I don't remember what it was, but there was
mhm,
something about it where it was just like, "Oh, it's Metroid Prime, but it's not as good."
yeah. So, besides the Wii being your favorite console, is your favorite video game from the Wii or is it from a different console?
Oh, Metroid Prime 2 is my all-time favorite.
Oh, let's go, Prime 2 game. Oh my goodness, we're like two peas in a pod here because
Yeah, yeah.
everyone dogs on Prime 2. I love that game regardless of how difficult it is
Yeah, it's got a
because,
couple hiccups,
yeah,
mainly like the spider ball track. That's like the biggest sin in the whole game, where you have to find that one spider ball track to pick up the power bomb. That's not very nice, but for the most part, I think it's a great game.
that's awesome. Did you ever play the multiplayer with anybody?
Oh yeah, well yeah, that's the thing. Cause when I was really young, like local multiplayer. Cause I had a brother and I had like a friend. I didn't have very very many friends, but I did have some. And so like local couch co-op multiplayer stuff was like the thing. Like every game I got was like towards that end. Oi, Frank adores games.
Yeah, we're gonna we're gonna get the
Kill
fan
him.
hammer on this guy. No, he's just trolling. I know who he is. He's just trolling.
Anyway, so like every game bought was like towards the end of being able to play multiplayer. Um,
Yeah.
and then when I like I bought Metroid Prime because a friend introduced me to the Metroid series. But anyway, so the one of the reasons I have so much nostalgia for Prime 2 was because I wanted to unlock all the multiplayer maps so badly that it like even though I was scared to play it because it got hard, and like the atmosphere was like really creepy and stuff. It just like the need to unlock all of the maps just like drove me through the game to the end. So
That's awesome. I'm assuming you probably have a Switch. You play Switch, right?
yeah, yeah.
And what'd you think of the Prime remaster that was on the Switch? Did you get your hands on that?
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I used the gyro controls. Like I tried to use the twin stick, but I've literally never played a twin stick shooter before.
Oh
So it
wow.
was like
Okay.
really uncomfortable for me. So I just like moved to the gyro controls. I'm like, "Ah, that's not too bad. I just have to press the stupid R button every once in a while."
Well, I hope that they do a Prime 2 remaster for the Switch because that game will look even more amazing with HD textures and everything, and the atmosphere will just be amplified, and it'll just be an amazing experience. So, yeah, I hope that happens. And we'll see. But that's cool, man. I'm glad I found another Prime 2 fan because everyone likes to dog on that game. But I think it's like it's one of the most unique and it's challenging, which I like a good challenging game. And um, yeah, I mean, I think it has the best suit at the end of the game too. The dark
Yeah,
suit and the light suit.
the dark suit and light suit are good. I think the PED suit probably has some outclassed a little bit. PED suit's such a good design; it's hard to beat. But I do
Yeah.
love the light suit in particular. Very nice. Very sleek.
Yes, yes. Now, okay, so going back to because I remember this about Bionicle. So, w- at least when I was growing up, I had no one to talk to about Bionicle. Did you have that same experience, or it sounds like you had friends, but like, was there a point where?
Yeah. No, I can't say I did because my two best friends were also into Bionicle.
Okay,
So
well, you're lucky.
yeah,
You're very
talking about
fortunate.
it.
That's awesome. Yeah, when it wasn't until so when I got into Binacle, it was basically kind of like you. It was during 2005 with Hordika and all that, and then I was basically a loner until 2000 eight, and when I moved to like a completely different state, and because I by the way I used to live in the U.S. and I don't anymore, obviously, but I
Right.
made friends with somebody, and I think they had a slight interest in Bionicle because of like a cousin. But then that was around the time the Glatorians came out in
Mm.
2009 or 2008, 2009, and he like went all in. So that he became my Bionicle buddy, and
Yeah.
we were just like all about Bionicle. Did you ever read the books? Do you remember the Scholastic books?
Yep. I read most of them. I think I might have read all of them. I'm not sure. It's been a long time. I own a bunch of them now. I gave away my collection at some point, one of those regretful moments. But
No.
I gave away my whole Bionicle. Well, I didn't give it away. I sold it so I could buy more Nintendo DSs. But
Oh,
I
nice.
sold my whole Bionicle collection too. And then once I started getting money from working and stuff, I actually started up a collection again, and I have almost every single one.
Oh, like from 2001 to 2010?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you got me beat then, because I've got I well, that's a lot. That's like 300. I think I calculated it before.
Yeah, they
So,
started getting more expensive sometime 2020, so I think if I'm looking at it like an investment, it's probably like quadrupled at least.
oh, dude, don't get me started on that because yeah, like because of YouTubing, and they're called AFAL, so adult fan of Legos. Those guys, there's been a lot of like new people getting into Bionicle for collecting, even though they never like really grew up with it. So yeah, the market for like buying Bionicles has like gone up in price over the last 4 years, and somebody like me who's like trying to play catch up on collecting, it's been hurting
Yeah.
my pocketbook trying to collect them. So that's crazy, man. That you have almost all of them. For right now, I have a video on my channel that shows like my collection. I have most of the 2001 to 2003. I'm just missing a lot of the Rahi. And then
Yeah.
from 2000, actually no, that includes 2004 because that's what Takunuva, Makuta, and Rakshi. Um, but 2005 onward, it's like I have like I guess you can say 80% of like the main line, but I don't have a lot of the Titans and stuff because the Titans are like the more expensive of the
Yeah, they're
bunch.
harder to get a hold of, yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so if you have most of them, do you have the sought after Karzani from the
I don't have Karzani. That's one of the few I haven't been able to track down.
yeah, that one is hard, and also the massive Toa Matanui one, the gold
Yeah, I don't
mask
have that
one.
one either.
Okay, but
Makes
yeah,
me angry just thinking about it. It's
that's
eluded my capture.
yes. This guy I follow on YouTube here, he he buys his Bionicles from like Facebook Marketplace, and somebody was selling like a bin of them, right, like pieces and whatnot, and they were selling the full of that Toa Matanui like gold mask one, and he got it for like a steal basically.
Are you talking about Essinger? Because I think he just grabbed one of those recently.
No, no, it's somebody else, but yeah, like I mean, like, and my audience knows I live in Japan, so finding like Bionicles in Japan is like already really hard. And I wish I had the access to like Facebook Marketplace to like find like loose pieces and whatnot. I have to like rely on Bricklink to buy Bionicle sets and whatnot. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool, man. I'm assuming. Let's see. I'm trying to think of another like. What's another like expensive or rare Bionicle set that either you have or you don't have?
Hmm. I don't. I don't know. I
Vezin
don't
and
have.
Cardis?
I have most of Cardus. Like, cause I set out to build all of the normal ones and all of the like combiner builds. So, so I have like Vizon and Fenrak and like all the Titans, but I don't. I
Nice.
didn't actually. I wasn't capable of finishing Cardus because I'm missing some spare Brutaka parts. Um, so I have most of him, but I'm missing a few important pieces. Uh,
Oh, those are
but I
easy to
guess
remedy, yeah.
yeah, I guess one of the rare ones that I have is like the movie tie-in Makuta mask for like the 2004 set. Um,
Oh, okay. Wait, they
right.
actually made
So
a mask of that? I don't really remember that.
yeah,
Okay.
they made like a special edition mask. It just like showed up in one of the eBay lots I bought. I was like, oh wow, oh
That's
wow.
that's
That's so
awesome.
convenient. Uh,
Wow, that is cool. Now, so I mean, probably you don't, but do you have any of the 2008 aerial vehicle sets?
I actually think I have all of them. Well, unless you count like the mini ones, like the Mataran ones. Uh,
Um, wait. So like the Cardanui flying vehicle ones. So there was the jet
right.
tracks, and then there
Yep, I got
was
that
okay.
one.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
are cool. I've always wanted to see them in person, but I've never had a chance. They look pretty cool, and they're like
yeah,
pretty
the
big too.
XLR T9, the big red one. That one was kind of surprising when I put it together. I was like, oh wow, this is larger than it looks on the box.
Is it pretty heavy too?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's super heavy. I mean, all these Lego sets are like hollow. They just have
Yeah,
a
that's
little bit
true.
of mechanism on the inside, but I mean it's weighty. Yeah, it's like a good hefty set.
What about the Glatorian era vehicles? Those were pretty cool too.
Yeah, I think I don't have many of those. I don't have the big Scorpio one.
Yeah.
I don't. I have like the one with the big wheel. I forget what it's called, but I don't have the big wheel. I have
Oh
everything
my
except the
goodness.
big wheel. He's wheelless.
Oh no. Yeah, the main component to get it to move.
He's
That's funny.
grounded.
Yeah, that's cool though. Okay. Yeah, I I love the 2009 era Bionicle because like the models were sleeker. I like the vehicle integration. That was pretty cool. And yeah, it was man, those were expensive too. I remember them being pretty expensive back in the day, but I remember all the marketing around that time, especially because, we were on like a different planet, which I don't think a lot of people expected to happen in the story. And so like it was like all this mystery around like what is this Magna, and like why is it like sand everywhere, and then like you got these random villages fighting it out, and it was really cool during that time. And I'm actually curious now. So like 2010 is like basically the end of Bionicle, and we got like a pitiful final toy line known as Bionicle Stars, and
Right.
like I I mean they're cool for what they are, but they could have done much better. What did you think about how did you feel about the end of Bionicle in 2010?
Um. Well, I think I was kind of moving on from Bionicle at that point, and maybe part of that is because the Glatorian didn't really hit me the same way. And then when Stars came out, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, we're okay. And then it died after that, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm moving on to other stuff.
To my DS collection.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
That's
Got it.
funny. Man, yeah, so, okay, before we move on, because I do want to talk about Takua 64, of course, but for DS collection, I'm very curious now. What were some of your favorite then DS games? Like, Uh, like yeah, I guess because clearly you collected quite a bit.
Well, actually, I never really got into handhelds. I always preferred console because the screens were bigger, and you could play more easily with more players. But when I said that I sold my Bionicle to collect DS, I meant actual DS systems because I wanted to be able to play Metro Prime Hunters multiplayer with my friends.
Oh, that's
so,
awesome.
so I just like bought a couple extra DSs and yeah, yeah, so that was that.
That's
Uh,
cool. Okay.
but yeah, like I loved Mario Party DS and Mario Kart DS. Those are like huge nostalgia for
Yep.
me. Metro Prime Hunters, obviously. Um, what else? I don't know. I didn't really get into a lot of DS games other than those ones.
So a lot of people, especially older than you and they don't understand I guess they don't understand like that time period where you basically can own two DS consoles and share the same game via the DS download play. And like that was like such a really piece of or a cool piece of technology because I remember like riding the bus to school with my DS, and I remember playing Mario Kart DS with like a random person on the bus on the way to school, and like that was, and I didn't own the game, like they owned the game, so I would download a copy of the game and play it, on my machine. Same with Mario Party. And Super Mario 64 on the DS, which is like a terrible way of playing that game. Um,
Yeah, I tried it recently. Very frustrating. I hate sprint buttons. I hate them.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and like you said, Prime Hunters, which I missed the boat on that. I remember walking into my local like tech store and seeing like a demo for it and always wanting to play it, like own it, but I never got to own it until like last year. And I was playing through it and I'm like, wow, this is actually a really solid game. And I'm glad you mentioned it because Bionicle Heroes for the DS is basically like it's a similar version to that, except the levels are a lot more linear. Like point A
Yeah,
to point B. Um, I always what I like to equate it to is Bionicle Heroes DS is like basically like Doom, as far as
yeah,
like
it is.
the
Yeah,
hallway
it does look
stuff.
like that.
Yeah, and anyway, so it's like it's the DS is a really neat system, and I love it a lot, and it's really cool that yeah, you had a lot of similar experiences like me playing with people on the with the DS, with the download play or whatever, and just the something you couldn't have with the Game Boy unless you had the cables, right? And even Game Boy games didn't have like multiplayer options, a lot of them. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool, man. I'm trying to think about another well, I had Phantom Hourglass, Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass on the DS, and that had a multiplayer feature to it, but it wasn't really that impressive. Um, Besides that, I can't think of any other. I mean, they had like the Mario and Sonic Olympic game DS games; those are pretty interesting. But now I would ask: is the DS is something a console you like to return to, like in the current era? Like, is that like something you just like playing games on right now?
I guess every once in a while, but I feel like I come back to playing GBA games more often.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Again, mainly for mainly for like Metroid Prime, or sorry, Metroid Fusion and Zero Mission.
Nice. Okay, nice, nice. Yeah, those are two solid games. Some of the most expensive games for the Game Boy as well.
I like the Revenge of the Sith game on there too. That's a classic one for me.
Oh, that's funny. I've seen like copies of it, but I haven't like played it, so that's pretty funny. Well, okay, so one last topic about gaming in general. Speaking of Bionicle Game Boy Advance games, are you familiar with the other ones that are on the Game Boy Advance? There's a couple more.
I'm familiar with them. I haven't played most of them. I've played Tales of the Tuhunga. That was actually like the main inspiration for Takua 64. Like the plot takes after that game, or what plot there is. Um
Yes.
so yeah, that's probably the main one that I like. I think I own the like side scrolling Matoran beat 'em up one, but I haven't actually played it yet.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Yeah, so for those of you who are not aware, back when Bionicle first came out in 2001 or before 2001, the Matoran were actually called Tahunga, and there was some weird like legal battle with
Yeah,
Lego and
The Maori got mad for them using various religious names, I guess.
yes, yeah. And so they had to change Tahunga to Matoran. So if you guys are old enough to remember the McDonald's toys, because I think the McDonald's toys were called Tahunga at the time, and then they changed them to Matoran later. You have to fact check me later in the comments. But yeah, so I didn't know about that game. So Tales of the Tahunga, I'm gonna have to look into that. But when I was listening to your developer commentary, you mentioned that game, so I'm very intrigued now to go check it out. As far as the other Game Boy Advance games, yeah, you mentioned the side scroller one. That's the only one that I don't own. I need to get a copy of it, but I have Bionicle, which is based off of like the movie, basically, the first movie, and then there's of course Bionicle Heroes. But the one that is the most difficult on the Game Boy is called Maze of Shadows, and
Mhm.
Maze of Shadows takes your lunch money, dude. It is.
I haven't played it, but but yeah, that's the impression I got.
Yeah, oh my goodness. So like we talked about Voyonui Online being a hard RPG. No, Maze of Shadows is insane. It's an RPG, a Bionicle RPG. You have 6 Toa. They all have elemental powers and different weapons. And then they all have like different functions on like what they're strong or weak against, and it is insanely hard. Like I was trying to replay it, and I just like I'm running out of like because it uses like the Pokemon or the typical JRPG system where you have like limited what would you call it, like uses of your weapon, your elemental powers or your weapon, and then there's like no real solid way of refreshing it, like um regaining those like abilities back. So like I'm slowly like losing like running out of like my attacks, and I'm like getting bodied by like random Rahi left and right. And yeah, it's a hard game. I want to
This Deku's kicking my butt right now.
yes. What's cool too is the game is like considered canon, I guess, to a certain degree.
Yeah, well, I think what is it that tree? I forget what oh no, wait. Was that the Morbuzak?
The
I don't remember.
Morzubak, yeah.
No,
Oh,
there was like another character, right? Wasn't
Karzani.
the
It was Karzani, right?
is it Kazan? I guess so. I forget. It's been a long time since I read the book, but doesn't that game kind of like tie in with the book? That
Yes.
they like share the same plot?
Yes, because what happens is one of the Toba is poisoned. I can't
Yeah,
remember
no
how.
comma, I think.
Yeah, no comma, the Toa water, and you need to go through this maze of shadow or maze, excuse me, to find Protodermis at the end, I think, and you need to bring that back to Karzani so that because the character believes the Protodermis will like rejuvenate him and like make him like strong. And then, yeah, you have to go through the maze and come back. And in the book, I think the book is called Maze of Shadows as well. They go on that adventure, and but I love the textures in that game. The pixel art is really cool and
Yeah,
everything.
they're really nice. The
And the music too is
animation.
pretty good too. But yeah, it's
Mhm.
hard. It is like way too like I don't know how like 7-year-old kids were able to beat this game because it's way too hard. Um, yeah, it's it's insane. But yeah. So we're gonna get into the main topic here, which is your ROM hack, the beautiful ROM hack you made, known as Takua 64. So to give some background, on, like how I stumbled upon it, one of my friends on Twitter, him and I we connect through Bionicle. So like he's always like posting funny Bionicle memes, and like he shared it with me one time. He's like, "Hey, have you seen this?" I was like, "No," and I found it, and I was like, "Whoa." A ROM. I've never messed with ROM hacks, by the way, before. This was my first time doing a ROM hack, like playing it, and so I had to like look it up, like how do I install this and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But no, dude, I was like, I downloaded the game. I was like, I have to stream this game, like first time reaction and everything. And yeah, based off of my stream, I'm thankful that you watched it. I was just knocked off, like, or blown away by it because it was just such an amazing experience playing a 3D Bionicle game that was like a real exploration type of game instead of like a running and gunning, third over the shoulder shooter. Which I mean that's fun too, but um, I need to ask though. I guess why did you? I guess because it's ROM hack, so like Super Mario 64 had to be the body, the engine for this ROM hack. Like why not Donkey Kong or Banjo? I guess because those are equally just as like good 64 platforming games.
Well, I like the movement in Mario 64 better, and I think, well, first of all, they don't really have tools for modding those games the way they do Mario
Oh, okay,
64,
that makes sense.
because Mario 64 is like one of the all-time most modded games. So there's a lot of resources out there for people who want to really get into it. Um, so that's kind of the main reason, I guess. That's like the main reason that I that I built it using Mario 64 instead of just straight up programming my own game, which is
Right.
something that I'm getting into now. I'm trying to learn how to program. It's kind of hard sometimes with between that and my full-time job, but I'm working on it.
Oh, hey, I mean that's cool if you get to a point where yeah, you can program your own game and maybe for those you don't know, like the reason why I was really excited about this game is because there was a canceled Bionicle game back in the day that was essentially similar to this game minus all like the platforming because obviously this is Super Mario 64, but it allowed you to experience Bionicle in a 3D world that this island, the island Mad Tanui, and I maybe yeah, if your programming gets pretty legit and you like you want to tackle on, maybe you can find a way to like patch up that original game, uh, the original Mad Tanui game, and just like add to it or even make your own version of it and just like keep it with the nostalgic like 2000s polygon look to it or
Well,
whatever.
I think Lightstone's already done that. It's ready to be played. Like you can just download the launcher and play it. It's really
Oh,
great. I
okay.
recommend it,
Okay, I'll have to
actually.
check that out then. All right. Well, I'm going to ask you a question later about a future project, but for right now, with Takua 64, um, what were some challenges that you had, I guess, trying to develop? Because this is a complete overhaul of like Super Mario 64. So there's like a lot of stuff you had to do. New textures, obviously new character models. You even added, which kind of blew me away, was like the sound effects. Like this, like even like that
Yeah.
launch screen, the splash screen that comes up with the sound effects. I was like, what is this random sound that's happening? But what were some like some massive challenges you had to kind of overcome creating this ROM hack?
Well, I guess the biggest challenge is level design. As you can tell, I didn't exactly get it perfectly. But I'd say it was pretty smooth sailing overall, except for when I encountered things that I just couldn't fix. Like you probably noticed the little blue crab guys that replace the Chuckias. When they grab you, they set you to their spawn position instead of their hand position.
Oh
I'm
no,
pretty sure you noticed that.
I think so. Yeah.
So that's one of the bugs that I wasn't able to fix. Some of the red coin stuff is weird. Like if you leave the area, then it resets the counter, but you still have them.
Yes.
Things like that. It says red coins, but it's all jumbled up when you pause and, and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah.
And then the last thing is like the empty star model. I wanted to replace it, but no matter how I tried to replace it, it would always crash the game. So it's just like an empty star model instead of like a custom Toa Stone model. Very annoying. One of the few visual blemishes on the game, but anyway, so beyond those things, I guess the biggest challenge was just keeping within the polygon count that the emulator will allow, and trying not to get the game to chug.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because you gotta make it playable and like allow you to do those crazy Super Mario 64 speed run tricks and jumps and whatnot. And I do appreciate that you boosted the swim speed in this game or in
Yeah,
this ROM
quite a
hack.
lot.
Yeah, because I was like, when I was doing, I was like, wow, we're like flying through the water here. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think the game would have been a lot like if I was really intent on adding as much water into the game as possible, it really would not have been okay to leave the default swim speed.
Now, I guess what I should have prefaced first is, why did you decide to make a Bionicle ROM hack for Super Mario 64? Like, where did that inspiration come from?
Hmm. Um, I don't know. Well, like I said, the main inspiration for the game was Tales of the Tuhunga. That's where like the plot and the general design of the game comes from. But I guess I kind of thought like, I've always wanted to make a game. I'm big into Bionicle. I think yeah, and then cuz I think at the time I was still kind of like trying to collect them. So I was big into Bionicle. I was getting really into Mario 64 and stuff because I watch a lot of Simple Flips. So I just kind of thought like it just kind of started to match up like Takua's the right body type to fit the Mario model. So
Yeah.
I just kind of figured I could switch it out pretty comfortably. And it just kind of seemed like it would be a good fit. Like the collection styled game works with Bionicle pretty well, I think, because like most of the early Bionicle storylines are just like, all right, here we go. There's Toa, right? And they have to run around and collect things. It's like, and
Yes. Yeah.
that's the story. You have to collect all these objects that you can buy, but in a loot box style. So have fun collecting all those bonus masks. uh, anyway, so I just kind of thought that it would be a really good match because, like, I could have tried to make like a Metroid fan game in Mario 64, but I didn't think that would really work very well, or at least it would have been harder to pull off than this.
Yeah, I've seen some footage out there of like a Metroid 64 basically. And I don't know if like the technology, I mean, I guess you can do it because they had like GoldenEye and Turok for the 64. But yeah, this man, like this, I agree with you. Like the Super Mario 64 like engine, I guess you can say, works really well with like this style of game with Takua running around collecting and I guess it makes sense because I was gonna ask you like why did you opt in for this model of Takua instead of the I guess you can say the what what's it called the upgraded
the
version
the
like the
rebuilt one.
yeah, sorry, rebuilt, yeah, thank you. So because like because this is like the gen or the original version, like the McDonald's toy looking one, and then later on they re-released the Matoran, but they're like rebuilt, so they have more well, at least toy form, they have more posability, versus like the model that you're playing as in the game. It's like you can only move the arms like left and right, and the feet left and right. So, but I mean, it works perfectly with the size of Mario for this game.
Right.
I love the detail with the backpack, by the way. The backpack
Yeah.
is a fantastic detail.
Yeah,
um,
actually, the backpack was kind of like a last minute addition. If you see a lot of like the earlier footage of the game, I had a different Takua model and I really wanted to update it right there at the end. And I was like going back and forth on the backpack. I was like, can I squeeze it in? Do I want to put the extra polys in? The extra polygons. But I
yeah.
was like, I like shaved a lot off of my original model. I could probably very easily get away with implementing the backpack. And even though it covers up a little bit of the texture on his back and stuff, I think it works really well.
Yeah, I mean, it's Takua going on an adventure, and the backpack is definitely iconic, especially for those who've played the Matt Newey online game. They would know, like, hey, that's where that comes from. I when I was watching your commentary of the game, you were running around as was it Kongu as
Yeah.
your character, and then is it like somebody else did it, or did you add Holly as another
I did.
character?
I added Holly as another playable character. I've actually added a lot of the Mictoran. I think I haven't gotten around to doing Matoro yet because I've been trying to take a break from Mario 64 modding. There's one other one, but I actually have a Google Drive link that you can uh, get if you want. That gives you that gives you different characters, different Mictoran and stuff. Although they're all older versions of the mod, I think. I think the only one that I have updated to the latest version is the Takua one.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, first of all, I like the fact that there are NPCs like Matoran NPCs that you can talk to in the game because obviously you took that from the Toad model that you see in the original game that you can like find throughout the castle, and I think that's cool because it gives the game more life. Where instead of just like you're like finding random Rahi that you're fighting, you can actually talk to villagers. That was really cool. Um, yeah, and we were talking about like tree speak, so I'm looking forward to because I saw it in the trailer there. I just remembered, it reminded me of the tree speak there. So I'm looking forward to seeing like how you implemented that. One thing that actually surprised me, and I'm sure it's because like maybe there was hardware limitation or modding limitations, was the choice of music. Because I heard a lot of familiar themes from other Nintendo games
Right.
in the ROM hack. Is there like a reason why you chose some of these like Nintendo tracks or whatnot? Like, what's the deal with that?
Well, the main reason is that when it comes to like doing artistic stuff, music is like the one thing that I've never been good at. Like I just can't. Like I might try to get into it later, but music, I just like don't have the capability to do it all. So
Okay.
actually, when I like originally started working on the game, I put out a like a an announcement trailer for the game, and I asked if anyone in the community wanted to help me out building the music, but nobody ended up doing it, so I had to kind of so when it came time at the end of the game and I needed music, I was just kind of like, okay, well, I'll look at all these databases, look through these databases to find music that I think works. And some of the choices I think work well, and some of them not as well. But like I said, the music is hard to do because it's
Yeah.
not streamed music, at least not for what I was doing, because I built it with binary editors instead of the decomp. So I couldn't do stream music, and even if I did, I probably would not have been able to use as much music as I did because it would be a lot of storage space. But yeah, so editing Mario 64 music with the MIDI files is kind of a pain and something that I was like, once I was done with the game, I was like, okay, I just ship it. Let's just like I'm like just
Yeah.
get all the music that works into the game and I'm done. Like I've been working on
That's
this for 2 years. I'm ready for it to be over.
that's so
Uh,
funny. So you're
so
like
the
really
music kind
experiencing
of an
the
afterthought.
I got you. Yeah, so you're basically like you're experiencing the dev timetables where it's like we just got to get this game out there. And yeah, it makes sense like if you had a dedicated music guy that can do that understands MIDI really well and can like and also understands your vision for Bionicle music, they can definitely they can translate it well into your game. But I think the music selection did never really took me out of the game when I was playing it. I was like, okay, this is really interesting and I like this tune. Like I recognize it. It works well in this situation. Like you've got Magmore Caverns playing in like the Tawahi area, or
Yeah.
and another area as well. But it was yeah, it was good. Like I didn't mind at all. And me being a big Nintendo guy, like I'll never say no to Nintendo music. So it was that was pretty cool. One thing that caught me off guard though was not music related was when I was listening to your commentary, you said you ripped some Super Mario Sunshine textures and used it in one of the beach areas of your the ROM hack, and it was funny because after like I'd seen you when you said it, I was like, oh, that makes sense now because I remember running around and I was like, this doesn't look like N64 textures, like what is going on here? But it made a lot of sense, and that's actually pretty smart just to be able to like rip it from there and put it into the game. Was it like, how did you, I guess, when you were like finding textures and stuff, like what was like a problem or like an obstacle you had to overcome? Like, was it easy to find a lot of textures? Was it hard to find the right one, or what's up with that?
Um, I wouldn't say I ever had much trouble with it. I basically just like grabbed Metroid Prime textures. I grabbed a Bionicle textures from a bunch of different games. And I mean that was really like all I needed. Just a bunch of like really good environmental textures cuz the environments in Takua 64 are pretty straightforward. Like you got your typical jungle, fire, ice, blah blah blah, all this stuff. So I just kind of like had to grab from a few weird sources every once in a while. Like I used Wave Race 64 textures a lot. I really like those. I
Nice,
used some Episode 1 Racer textures here and
nice.
there. So games like that have a really good realistic sort of style I would pull from. But yeah, most of the textures are like from The Legend of Metanui, the Bionicle the game, Metroid Prime. Those are like the three big ones that I pulled from the most.
Okay. One thing that I noticed, and I don't know if you can explain to it, is the like size of the maps, or not actually not the size of the maps, navigating, like not knowing where to go. I basically I had to rely on my lore knowledge. Like, okay, if I go down this way, I'm pretty sure it's gonna lead me down to like one of the like Onukoro or Pokoro or whatever. Like those, I just knew based off of playing like Madanui Online and some other Bionicle games. Is there a way, like, I guess if you wanted to update the game in the future, that you can kind of guide people to certain areas more easily, or is it just like is it like, did you decide to make it more fun, like, you have to discover it on your own, like, where to go? Like, what was your thought process behind that?
Well, like I said, I actually built the hub world before anything else, which I do not think was a good design decision. Really, I should have done that last.
Okay.
But I kind of wanted something I could run around in. Anyway, so most of the levels are put in the order that I thought would work well based on their based on their like their design. So for example, um this is a mild spoiler, I guess, but Lake Horo is the last level in the game, and I knew I wanted it to be that way because you're like up in the trees and it's very easy to fall. So I knew that basically had to be the last level. That it would be very easy to turn into the most challenging level for that reason. So that's kind of what like decided the level order was like just the environment. Like I knew I wanted like Po Wahi to be like somewhere upper mid because it's like canyons and you could very easily put pits and things like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's basically how I decided the difficulty for each level. As far as navigation, the boat that takes you from Gakoro to Takoro was kind of like an afterthought little reference sort of thing. I
Yeah.
thought, wouldn't it be funny if you could just like hop on the boat and go to Takoro? But I think it wasn't a mistake to do that for sure. I think that was a really good, fun idea. But I wish I had incorporated that sort of thing more into more levels later to for consistency because I feel like a lot of the people I watch play the game, they find the boat to Takoro and they're like, "Oh, well, you can go from here to here. And maybe all these levels are connected." And I'm like, I'm like, I wish I'd actually made them connected." But
Yeah.
actually, it was just kind of like a, a spur of the moment, like, "Oh, that would be funny if I referenced Matanui Online game in this way."
It was perfect. I thought it was really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's I guess what needs to be done is maybe a really hardcore fan will write a game guide for this for this game. But
Well,
your
that's kind
videos
of
are
what my yeah yeah.
Yeah, your commentary videos are really like it definitely shows how terrible I'm at the game when I watch you play because you're just like flying all over the place, jumping around, and you're like doing all these tricks. But you're used to it because you love this game and the mechanics to it, so you're very comfortable with like taking those risks and knowing how to jump correctly.
Right, and beyond that, it's not just that I'm pretty comfortable playing Mario 64, but you have to realize that I built this whole game. I've made every jump probably hundreds of times, just like jumping over and over again, trying to find invisible walls, making sure making sure you can make the jump as comfortably as I expect you to. Like, so it's just stuff like that. Like some of these areas I've been through just like hundreds and hundreds of times, it feels like.
Wow.
So, yeah, like some of the jumps that I didn't have to do as much because I just like did them once and I was like, that works. Um, those ones I'm not as comfortable with, but for the majority of the game, I've probably played, like, if you added up all the different times I troubleshooted each of these jumps, I've probably played the whole game from start to finish like 12 times.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
it's just like a lot of troubleshooting and just like after a certain amount of time, you just become so familiar with the level that it becomes very easy to get around. So it's not really a fair comparison to from me to the person who just played it for the first time.
Right.
But I've also played a lot of ROM hacks, so I am pretty comfortable with Mario 64 movement.
So what's interesting is you're some would say you're you're a guy with many masks, meaning you've done the play testing to the slight programming to the texturing to the like you've literally done everything for this, which like takes
Except the music.
well, right, the music, yeah, which takes like teams of people to do. I think it's impressive. Yeah, you've done all the play testing to make sure that it's as comfortable as it can be. Um, how so besides like new people's reception to this, so like first time players of Mario 64, which is like a really cringe thing to say, but what about like veterans that have played that are big into Super Mario 64? Like what were their reactions to this game?
um, I think mostly sort of positive. I haven't actually seen very many veterans play it. There were a few streams on Twitch, but I kind of got burnt out on watching the first few levels of the game, honestly, and
I got you, yeah.
the VODs have disappeared. So I haven't been able to watch very many like Mario 64 veterans play all the way through the game. I would like to see some more. But the problem is also a lot of these Mario 64 veterans don't commentate their playthroughs, so it's kind of hard to gauge what exactly they're thinking when they're not
Gotcha.
saying anything. But I think it's mostly positive. A lot of the Mario 64 veterans, I think, don't like how complicated the world is. I think they're more comfortable with more streamlined experiences where they don't really have to hunt and root through the world. A lot of them, I think, probably don't like the amount of red coin missions, which is understandable. I feel like the red coin missions do get a little bit tiresome after a while. But I just had
Yeah.
all of these ideas for areas that I really wanted the player to be able to explore fairly thoroughly instead of just like jumping in, grabbing a star, and leaving or whatever. I wanted them to
Right.
be able to kind of soak in the atmosphere, and I kind of felt like making them hunt for red coins. Maybe I could have hidden them a little bit less tediously in a lot of these cases, but I feel like you really become intimately involved with a level when you when you're made to really explore it that way instead of just running through it. Um, anyway.
Yeah, no, that's very true because if you think about other games like Metroid Prime, for example, right, or even Metroid in general, when you're hunting for those energy tanks or those missile expansions, like you're revisiting those areas over and over and over again and checking every nook and cranny. Especially Metroid Prime, which one of the flaws I don't remember if two has it, maybe three doesn't, but the flaw with the original Prime is when you're trying to find those expansions, there isn't an indicator to let you know, like, oh, you found it in this area or not. And you have to rely on like pure memory, which is like terrible. Whereas like Super Metroid and Zero Mission would have like an indicator on the map, like, okay, you found the item or not. So but going back to like fully exploring a zone or whatever, like, yeah, I think that's really cool that you thought about that. It's like you want the player to actually really explore the area and get familiar with it and like appreciate all the hard work that you put into this. So yeah, that's really cool. Now, man, I guess I need to go and stream the game some more and like try to finish it as well because yeah, like you said, it gets a little bit boring and repetitive if you see the same like first three levels over and over again. Where there's like so much more to the game that you want people to see and based off that trailer, like yeah, I want to go visit Kokoro and I want to go see Likoro and I just want to see like these environments that I haven't seen yet because they look really impressive and yeah, so I'll have to obviously no promises, but I definitely either this year or the early next year I'm gonna try to stream more of this game and try to beat it on stream. So at least you can have a reference of like somebody like me who's a Bionicle fan. Not the biggest Mario 64 fan, but I do like the game enough that I'll play a ROM hack of my favorite like franchise, toy franchise, and then you can see like how the rest of the game is for somebody like me. So um, yeah, it's like I said, man, I'm impressed with just like the level of detail, and I could definitely tell the passion that was put into this. Even though, yeah, like you said, you spent 2 years, day and night, just slaving away at this game to get it to work and to make it functional and even like entertaining for people. And I can definitely tell, man, the polishing that you put into this, um, yeah, it's really cool. And I wish, I wish more people would be able to give it a shot and try it out, and I hope, I hope they can find it, through either my stream or other people's streams or your channel. They can try this game out, and it's actually really easy to set up. I didn't realize how easy it was. The only
Yeah, Simple Flips has made it really easy with romhacking.com. It's very smooth experience at this point.
Yeah, and actually I want to ask you. So I can't connect my GameCube controller to the computer via the Wii U adapter. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a way to do that or no? Like, how do you play? What
I
controller do you
actually
use?
just did that. I actually just did that because I want to play Super Mario Eclipse, the Super Mario Sunshine mod that just came out. Looks
Yes.
really good. I'm excited to play it. But yeah, I did do that. I bought like a $10 GameCube adapter on Amazon, and I had the exciting trying to figure out how to get the rumble to work
Oh
with
no.
Dolphin moment. Anyway, so but yeah, you can do that if you just buy like a basic GameCube emulator. It should be pretty easy to set up, I think. If you don't care about Rumble, that is. But I don't think Mario 64 doesn't support Rumble anyway, unless you mod it in, so it doesn't really matter. but
Yeah.
um, but yeah, personally, I use Xbox 360 controller. That is like the most comfortable
Okay.
platforming controller for me. I like the GameCube controller, but for me, I think the right and left buttons are just a little bit too smushy when I'm trying to do precise inputs.
Okay, well that makes me pretty happy because that's what I was playing with when I streamed, and I was playing with a pretty bad controller. The left analog stick was drifting a little bit, but now I have a newer controller. And last night I wanted to like refresh myself on the game, so I was playing with the new controller. I was like, oh, okay, now it's reacting how I want it to react. So maybe when I go and continue playing the game, I'll be able to like not make as many mistakes as I did last time. But yeah, speaking of that Eclipse game or the Eclipse ROM hack, I saw the trailer, yeah, recently, and I'm a big fan of Mario Sunshine. Like that's my go-to 3D Mario game,
Oh
and
yeah.
I definitely want to play that ROM hack. So if you're gonna stream or not stream, if you're gonna do your videos on your channel for it, I'll probably watch you play it first, and then see like how it is before I get into it, because that looks really really cool.
Yeah, maybe. It could be a little while because I record a lot of my videos like pretty far in advance, like so that when I get sick or whatever and my voice isn't up to it, then I can still release content every day without
Yeah.
having to. So I have a fairly decent backlog of like my Mario 64 like platformer show, which I do twice a week. Um, so there's actually a Super Mario Galaxy mod that I got finished playing. So I think I have like a couple more mods before I jump into it. Um, yeah, so it might be a little while. If you're planning on playing it soon, you might want to just go ahead and get it out there because it might be a little while before I start putting it out on the channel. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I've been trying to avoid spoilers for it, so I haven't really looked into it, but I don't think I've seen anything bad about it recently. All I can see is people saying it's good, so I'm
Okay.
excited. Very because Sunshine's one of my all-time favorites too.
I mean, we must be brothers or something because we have way too many things in common. You're my alter ego from a different
Yeah,
dimension.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, I look forward to that, and yeah, I look forward to seeing your gameplay of it and reactions. And I'm very curious to see if because I'm assuming it's run through Dolphin, so I know I can hook up my GameCube controller through Dolphin because I play one of my YouTube friends here, Woopa Troopa. I've done 2 streams with him playing Mario Baseball, All Star Baseball, and we use this specific Dolphin emulator. I can't think of the name of it now, but Project Rio, and I've been able to connect my GameCube controller that way. Just when I
Hmm.
use what's it called? Parallel launcher. I can't for this ROM hack in particular. I can't get my GameCube controller to connect to it. So,
Oh, do
um,
you have an official Wii U adapter? Is that
yes.
because most of the third party ones have like a PC mode. You just hit the switch and then it like works like a normal like a Xbox controller or something. So
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. You might need a different adapter. I'm not sure. I haven't because I don't have an official Wii U one. They were all like scalped. They were all like
Yes.
right when they came out there, and I just
Yes.
like didn't need the GameCube controller that badly, so
Yeah, I
to
remember
play
those
Smash and
days.
stuff.
Well, so one fun thing I would like to ask you about, at least your ROM hacking developer career, is what if you wanted to make a new ROM hack? It doesn't even have to be Super Mario 64. What would be like another project idea that you would want to do? Because I had an idea for you, but I'm curious to know like if you want to get back into it, what's something you want to tackle next?
Well, like I said, I'm kind of moving away from Mario 64 modding. I'm working on learning Godot is what I'm doing now. So I'm really mostly interested in just figuring out how to make my own stuff
Okay.
because it's just going to give me a lot more control.
Yes.
So let me see. What's I have like a whole list of game projects I want to do. So to start out, do you remember the old Rotuka spinner challenge that was on bionicle.com back in 2005?
Yes.
Um anyway, that game doesn't work anymore, presumably because it like needed a a Lego Club account to work correctly. So I kind of want to make like a local version of that game with a few extra features like local multiplayer and like achievements and stuff like that. So I'm kind of one of the projects that's at the top of my list is remaking that in Godot. But I have some more programming I need to learn before I get into it really.
Right.
And then another one is I wanted to make a short 2D platformer Metroidvania. I mean, I know that's been done to death at this point, but just a simple one for me to get into it and find my feet programming stuff. And then I have some 3D platformers that I'm interested in putting together. So, yeah, I don't really have any intentions of continuing to mod games, at least
Okay.
not if I get good enough that I can just make my own using an actual game engine, you know?
So I guess it's a good thing that you did this ROM hack first because it taught you a lot about, I guess,
Yeah,
developing a
exactly.
game and all the struggles with it and what you can do to make it better next time. Um,
Correct.
okay, that's really cool. I was thinking, in the future, it'd be nice. This is like a dream of mine. It'd be nice to see if there was a Metro Nui era or like a game that's like 3D, like a 3D version of that, besides the Morzabak challenge one, where you're
Yeah,
like
yeah.
trying to survive the lava that's like
Yeah,
slowly raising up. I never really liked that game because I was like, man, there's like they could have done much more with this environment, but they
yeah.
just like left it to just you got to shoot these vines and prevent the lava from raising, and
Yeah,
that's
it's a
it.
very simplistic game. Fun for 20 minutes.
Yeah, basically. So it would be sick to see in the future a Metro Nui era game where yeah, you're playing as the Toa Metro and you're going around collecting um or the Kanoka discs, the great Kanoka discs. And I don't know like what type of game engine you would use, I guess, or obviously you could just make your own because that's what you're learning how to do, but something like that because we obviously have like Banco Heroes for the Voya Nui era, and I think doing something like underwater with Marinui would be probably a little bit tricky with the swimming
Yeah, yeah.
mechanics and everything. Um, and then of course we have Glatorian Arena. You know, that's like those are like
Mhm.
already there. I just think Metro Nui time period is like kind of like lost for some of the games that they could have done. So
Yeah, yeah, it feels that way. I guess 'cause uh what the canceled Argonaut game where they had
oh yeah
pitched
yeah
this whole big like Mirror's Edge type game. Yeah, it's a shame that that never got off the ground because it sounds like it would have been right up my alley. But yeah, I did one of the games on my list that I wanted to do was like a smaller version of Takua 64, except set in 2006, where you play as Pyrrhus. I want to do that. That probably it's not going to be on the same scale of Takua 64, obviously.
right.
It would be fun to do a Metro Nui, but it's kind of I'm not very good at like architecture either. So the setting is a little bit of a wall for me. It's kind of hard for me to really think about how to break into that, because when you're building a level and it's like in a jungle, it's like you just copy paste this tree or that tree, blah blah blah, and it's like there, and then there's like a few bugs or whatever. But if you're building like an actual, like dealing with Metru Nui is like another beast, because it's like if you want to really make it feel right, you gotta like implement like Matoran walking around. You gotta like include AI. I mean, I guess you wouldn't necessarily have to, but stuff like that, stuff to make the city feel alive and to make it feel like it's real and not just like a collection of copy pasted buildings would be a larger challenge.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, the Voya Nui like mini version sound of Takua 64 sounds interesting because for those who don't know, like the storyline for that time period with Voya Nui, with the Matoran were basically like enslaved on that island by the Paraka, and so like running around on that island, like as Peruk trying to maybe like save the Matoran and release them would be pretty cool. Or just like that time period is like or of like Bionicle story is really interesting as well. But yeah, that'd be pretty dope. Seeing that and trying to think about what game did that kind of as far as like other than the Flash games. um yeah, I don't know. How long would it be? I guess that would be my final question about it. Is like half the size of Takua 64 or like a quarter? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, probably closer to a quarter. Like it would probably be very small. Because it's if I ever want to make money doing this, either I don't want to dip too heavily into fan games. Like I definitely want to, because I have a passion for that and making a little fan game every once in a while. But I really can't do another 2 year long project like this. It kind of started to drive me crazy.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
So yeah, it would be smaller, but I would want to get into it enough that it felt satisfying, like there was content, like it didn't really lack too much, like it didn't drop its potential, like the potential was fulfilled. I did what I needed to with what I built, and the plot didn't feel like it was just shoehorned in. I would want to make it feel like it made sense.
Right.
So it would it wouldn't be too small, but it wouldn't be very big. Like I have a like a whole bunch of ideas for little games like that. Like I want to make like a Hollow Knight 3D as well. I want to make just like silly stuff like that, where I just like practice programming, make a bunch of different character controllers and things like that. Just have fun with some of the IPs that I like.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah, and then it gives you that chance to gain experience with like different types of games and how to program them and how to like design them, and then you could figure out like which path would be the most achievable as far as like you can make that game. You could see the reality of it versus like you said, spending 2 years on one ROM hack, which is a fantastic ROM hack. I mean, I don't know, is there, not to like compare yourself to other ROM hack guys, but like has anybody else spent that much time or like less time?
Oh
Like
yeah,
what's
yeah.
the typical life cycle or lifespan, I guess, of creating a ROM hack?
Well, it really depends, because there are all different shapes and sizes. But for other major hacks that are like over 100 stars, I know some of the guys were working on their, like some of these big names that you see, like Rovert or Mr. Commit, people like that who just more recently released their major hacks. Um, they spent like I mean, they were like working on them before I got into it. So, and then they just released more recently. So it takes a while, but it also, I mean, obviously it also depends on the amount of available time. Like I had a full-time job for the whole thing, so I could really only afford weekends, and that was like when the bulk of it got done. But for some people, they might not have full time jobs; they might have part time jobs, or maybe they're still in school, stuff like that, and they have more time to devote to these things. But so it really depends on that sort of thing. But yeah, there
Okay.
are definitely other big Super Mario 64 hacks that are very good, made by very talented people.
That's all right. I'll have to look into that. I know when I was streaming it, he's not in the chat tonight, but there was one guy. He's a big ROM hack follower, I guess. I don't know if he plays it, but he was talking to me a little bit about it. But yeah, I'll have to look into that. I don't. It's weird. I like playing original games, but I'll play ROM hacks, especially like that Eclipse one, the Mars Sunshine one, because I love
Hmm.
Mars Sunshine. But this game was definitely an easy sell because of the main theme for this ROM hack. But yeah,
Right.
so I guess to like start winding down, I was kind of curious. So going back to Bionicle, like all of Bionicle, if there was something you could change about Bionicle, let's exclude G2 and just focus on 2001 to 2010. What was something that I guess like was pretty wild about Bionicle that you think could have been like better handled, like story wise, character wise, or maybe even like marketing or toys? Like, is there something that I'm always curious to know, like, what was kind of like a blemish with Bionicle from different people?
Hmm. Um. Well, I kind of feel like it. I don't think it was a bad marketing move, but for me, I think one of the things that's tough to swallow about Bionicle is the way it kind of started to wrap up in the end, and then Greg Farsty just like spun up a whole new narrative with like Pohatu and Kopaka going to the Red Star, and like Liwa getting lost, and like all this crazy stuff. Like they introduced like a new villain, and then it was just like dropped. So I feel like the wrap up could have been handled more smoothly. I mean, I guess maybe he thought he had a lot more time and then they rug pulled him. I don't know what obviously went behind there, but
Right.
it's kind of like there's a lot, like it kind of felt like they were coming in for a soft landing, at least from my perspective. And then he just like shot a bunch of stuff into the lore. And it's like, well, we didn't need that. You could have just wrapped it up and it would have been satisfying. But instead, there are like 50 loose ends now.
Yeah, and Bionicle already has like quite a collection of loose ends, and and he just like added to that. So yeah, I get that point. Yeah, for those who are not familiar, basically Bionicle ended in 2010. There was like a final big battle and everything, and I remember it ending. And the next thing I know, like I don't know how many months later it was, they added like serials to like the website to read. And I was like, "What is this?" There's like news stories, and like you mentioned, like Kopaka and Pohatu like going off on an adventure to the Red Star, all this stuff. I'm like, I thought this like finished. Like, why are we adding to the story? You know? And then yeah, like you said, it led to some too many loose ends being left, and but it was still cool to add to it. I was I wish yeah they could have packaged the end of the game a little or the end of the franchise a little bit better, but yeah, adding new stuff to it wasn't like super cool. And like you said, it could have been because of like he thought he had more time. The which by the way you mentioned him, Greg Farsty basically wrote all the story for Bionicle from like 2001 to 2010. And if correct me if I'm wrong, he also did all of Ninjago as well, which is like another fantastic story to kind of like follow. Um, oh, sorry, go
uh,
ahead if you were gonna
I don't
say.
really know. I never really got into Ninjago.
Oh, okay. Well, it was basically when Bionicle died, Ninjago came and was like the next big thing for Lego.
Yeah, I
Like it's
mean
like
it's still huge. Like I see it come up on Twitter all the time.
yeah,
Like,
it's cool. The TV show was really good. I remember watching it consistently and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, so I think I asked you, but I'm trying to remember now. You said you've read all the books or most of the books, I'm guessing. For
yeah, I've either read all of them or most of them, but I was like a lot younger at the time, so I forget.
what about the comics? What'd you think about the comics?
I reread all the comics recently. I always liked them. Like that, those were like big into helping me get into the story as well. So really sold a lot of the
Yes.
Lego for me. Yeah, between those and the Flash game, I was like, oh wow, wow, really enjoying this. um, yeah, so I liked them. Like I said, I got into it like around 2005, and I think like when I started getting the magazine and picking up the comics, it was like right in the middle of yeah, so like right around when I got into Bionicle, I started picking up the comics and stuff.
Yeah, that's I failed to mention it earlier, but when I part of my journey to get into Bionicle was the Lego Club magazine, which you would get a Bionicle comic insert every 2 months. and that was really cool to get that and to follow along with the story, and that was around the time from 2005 to 2006. Actually, just recently, so they've put all the comics into graphic novels, and they've separated into like 9 volumes of graphic novels, and like just recently I was able to like basically recollect all those graphic novels again. So
Nice.
my goal is to reread them because it's been a minute since I've read them, but I I always liked the first couple years of the art because of how detailed it
Mhm.
was. Like it looked like basically Marvel level comics of art. And
Yeah.
then when they got to Metro Nui, they kind of dropped a little bit in quality, but it was still pretty cool. And then when they got to 2006 with the Anika Savoya Nui, it wasn't like bad quality, but it was like super edgy art, like really different,
Yeah,
drastically
yeah.
different.
It was definitely a 2000s sort of vibe, I
Yes,
think.
yeah, yeah, and they kinda kept it all the way until, Cardanui, so 2008, and then, with the Bara manga saga, they went back to kinda, like, more detailed art, but, yeah, I did like the art for the comics, I thought they were really cool, but, yeah, the comics are fantastic medias to get into, and, um, like that we mentioned it earlier, but Bionicle just had a lot of great media that you could consume and learn about the rich lore that it had besides like books and movies and stuff, and you could just really like enjoy the world that it had, and a lot of it was like a lot of the extra lore stuff was found in like those like the Dark Hunter book and like the Rahi encyclopedia or whatever it was, and like some of those like extra novels. I don't know if you did you ever read Makuda's Guide to the Universe. Did you ever read that book?
I don't think so.
It's so there's 2. So there's Makuda's Guide to Universe and then Matanui's Guide to Baramanga. And Makuda's one is like basically all of the Bionicle lore from like 2001 to 2008 or 9 before Baramanga. And then obviously the Matanui one is just like the Baramanga saga. And like those are fantastic books to read because they basically have like everything in them for the most part. Um, and then uh, the art's fantastic as well, but I like collecting a lot of this like lost physical media, I guess you could say, for Bionicle, and
Yeah.
hopefully they don't go up in price. But um, because yeah, like I said, there's a lot of like it's a funny word that people use in the video game world, but like a lot of tourists are now entering the Bionicle
Mm.
like community, not your community, but just like interest, and so yeah, you have all of these like collectors and prices going up, and it's like it's making it difficult to collect, but I'll be rooting for you to finish the collection before I do because you're much closer than I am. So
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of lost interest in filling it out. Like if I found something, just happened to find it, I would definitely grab it, but it's just too much of a time investment at this point for the
right.
price.
Well, I guess one final question I ask you is, what did you think about G2, Bionicle G2? And you don't, if you don't have anything to say about it, that's fine. But I'm very curious to think what you thought about it.
I thought it was fine. I thought that they kind of got kind of generified, if that's a word. It kind of just felt like it Bionicle had kind of lost its soul. Like the things that were impressive about it, like the world building, were just kind of left behind a little bit, and it was just but G2 just kind of felt like it was kind of trying to get at that, but that it wasn't really really committed to getting in that deep again. I don't think Lego wanted to dive in for another 10 years. um,
What do you think of the
uh,
toys though? Like, setting aside the lore and the marketing, like, what do you think of the actual toys themselves? If you saw them,
well, I like them. I didn't buy any just because I didn't really like if I like I was invested in Bionicle for Bionicle the original and for its plot. So when they rebooted it, it's just like I don't really want to do it again. I just
right?
want like if you're gonna add to Bionicle, like I just kind of want to go back.
Yeah.
But as far as the toys went, even though I didn't buy them, I think the quality, the construction is like super good. Like every time I happen to pick up like G2 parts whenever I would buy lots looking for the sets that I needed to collect, I was always really impressed with how sturdy they were, because the old G1 stuff. You get like a lime green piece, and you're
Oh
like, okay, well,
yes,
this is gonna last like a couple of weeks or whatever. Every time you snap the joint together, you're like cringing. You're like, please,
yes. The
please don't
lime,
break.
the lime. To add to that, one set that comes to mind is Elac or Elac from the
Yeah,
Mara
yeah,
Yui
for
line.
sure. I'm pretty sure every single joint broke.
Yeah, and so I rebuilt him like 2 years ago, and when I was rebuilding him, obviously the lime green piece broke, so I ordered some new ones from Bricklink from this one vendor, and when I got it, I got just one. I should have ordered two, but I ordered one, and it broke as soon as I connected it to the joint. And so when I emailed them, I said, "Hey, this broke right away." I didn't realize like that lime green one was like famous for breaking so much.
Yeah,
They like sent me
infamous.
a new
Yeah.
one for free basically after that. And I was like, "That's crazy." But yeah, you're right. The G2, the sturdiness of them is like way better than the original ones,
Yeah,
which
the parts are all super slick. They go together nice. They glide real nice. I think they're they're really awesome. But as far as the visual design, they just had like too much armor. Like I felt like one of the appeals to me for the original Bionicle was that they kind of looked like they were just kind of put together, like they were kind of just holding on. Like
yeah,
it
yes.
created a really unique visual style that I feel like really got left behind when they did the new one. Now that it's just kind of like it kind of feels more like their suits of armor, which I think just lost a lot of its soul in that for me.
No, I totally get that. Like if you, it'd be an interesting thing to like compare the original Toa Tahu and then like the G2 version. And there's like two of them, and they're like way too bulky. Because I have all of them. For G2, I have every single one except for the second version of Toa Lua, and then a couple of the bad guys. But it is so hard to cram them all on my shelf because of how bulky they are. Whereas like my Toamata like take up in reality like half a shelf because they're like
Yeah.
really slim, but they look amazing because of like how simple and slim they are. So I totally get that. They're not they're more like suits of armor, but they're not supposed to be because the Bionicle like that's the character, like that's how they look like, that's how they function and and whatnot, and they're not supposed to be like these armored characters per se. Yeah, I totally understand that. But yeah, man. Man, this has been a great chat with you. Talking Bionicle. I'm always down to talk Bionicle with anybody. At least people that are like competent, like they've played it or they've played the toys, they know the lore, whatever. And yeah, I knew I never expected you to actually watch the video or my live stream and comment on it. So as soon as you
Yeah,
did
I
that, I was
search
like,
every once in a while. I look to see if there's any new any new engagement with the game.
"Oh,
So
that's good then." Well, I'm glad you did because I definitely wanted to talk to you about it and thank you for like basically giving me a game that I wish I had as a kid, and like reliving my Bionicle nostalgia for a little bit because I always try to return to that and just it's weird because a lot of people they have like Marvel or they have Star Wars. For me, it's like Bionicle is my nostalgia. Like, yeah, I have Nintendo and like Mario, but like to really bring me back to like 2006 where like I'm like losing my mind that there's like these glowing swords, and you got like this rock band in the background.
yeah.
Like that's like it's something else that you had to have been there to really appreciate and understand it. So I appreciate you taking time, man, to hang out and chat Bionicle, and you're always welcome to chat Bionicle with me again in the future. And yeah, man. Like, if you got this is your time. If you want to shout out any projects you're working on or your YouTube channel, I'll drop it in the chat here. And for those listening on the replay, his information's in the description. Now, I will say you have two channels. You have your You want to explain like what's the difference between your two channels? Because I didn't even realize you had two channels until recently.
Well, the only difference is that I have my main channel that I've had for as long as I've been on the internet. Well, as long as I've had an internet presence, that's my gameplay channel.
Okay.
I started the Let's Play channel when I was very young, but I later started to get into animation. So I started creating animations like a lot of Metroid stuff primarily. But so I originally had them I was putting them out on my main channel, but I felt like wasn't a great fit, so I created a separate channel for animation, and then it just kind of started to transfer into my game stuff, just because not my let's play stuff, but my game building stuff. So yeah, it's really like for animation, and then like animation adjacent, like big projects I'm working on. So that's what the animation channel's for. It's just like other stuff that's not my playthroughs.
Okay, that's cool. I'm actually curious now if you would ever, if you ever thought about doing more Matanui Online animation type content. Like, you know how they had the cutscenes right within the game? If like that's ever been something you've been interested in, like doing something like that, because
Yeah, yeah. Actually, before I got on the game development kick, I was working on do. I kind of wanted to like do like an animated version of Tales of the Tuhunga to tell the story, because not many Tales of the Tuhunga is like a prologue to Matanui Online game. It's one of the first canonical like pieces in
yeah.
the Matanui story. So I wanted to tell it with an animation, like an animation series. But so I painted all these like super detailed, like Matanui Online game styled assets, and unfortunately, I just kind of burnt out on it. And it's something that I'm still interested in doing, but it just takes so much time that I'm kind of more interested in the game stuff. But yeah, I
Okay.
guess it's possible that I could. But yeah, I had all these like Matanui Online style pieces painted up. Like I was working on a little Pahatu test animation. Yeah. So to answer your question, yes, I did have ideas to do that sort of thing, but I just kind of got burnt out on it.
I got you. Yeah. Well, that's cool. Um, but yeah, sorry, I interrupted you earlier. If you got, like I said, you can shout out any projects you're working on or your channel, and just basically sell yourself to the people that are watching now and also the replay gang, so they know who you are.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm just kind of learning programming right now, working on being able to make my own stuff instead of using Mario 64 as a base. And I want to rebuild the Rotuka Spinner Challenge game. It would be fun, and move on from there. Make a lot of 3D platformer ideas. That's kind of like my thing. I'm really into that. I want to build a 3D platformer Metroidvania game. I feel like I've never seen one of those before. And it seems like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But a lot of work as well. So I'll have to. It could be a little while before any fruits of that start showing up.
Well, I have a good friend of mine. Shout out Nerdy Neo. He's a big Metroidvania guy. I'm gonna have to ask him if there is a 3D platformer version of or like type of game like that. But I know that if you were able to make something like that, the Metroidvania community would be all over it because they're pretty passionate about playing a lot of indie Metroidvania games. So if there was a cool way to mix 3D platforming with Metroidvania, yeah, that'd be a large pool of people you can get, and I think that'd be a pretty cool experience. I guess it would be like an original idea too, so like you're not gonna pull from a
Right,
franchise.
it wouldn't be a fan game. Yeah, I
Right.
have ideas for like a Metroid style world. I'm not a writer, so I might have to get someone to help me writing it, but it would be pretty simple. Like
Mm,
the story would. And well, I would like to leave enough stuff in there that it could be expanded into a larger world, but I would try to keep it simple, at least for the first.
nice. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to your journey on this, and definitely gonna be supporting whatever you come out. Cause like, if Takua 64 is a like what it I don't know how to say this correctly. If that's like you putting your passion into something, like I can't imagine what you're gonna do next then, and like what creative ideas you'll have for like your own projects. Because yeah, for those of you guys out there, like you really need to play this game. If you're a big platformer, 3D platformer guy like me, and obviously super stupidity here, but also if you're a big Bionicle fan, you definitely owe yourself to play this game and give it a chance. And obviously, he needs to know like how well it was done for him because he wants to improve his own skills. So you're doing it for two people, yourself and for him. So, but yeah, like I said, appreciate your time. I'm gonna just shout out what I'm working on too. But we're gonna wrap up this stream here in about a minute or so. But as for me, you can obviously find me here on YouTube, and I do a lot of like retro games, Nintendo in particular, but every once in a while you'll see a Bionicle game on here. You will see me stream this Takua 64 ROM hack here in the future as well. As far as like upcoming events, this month I've been promoting Shadow the Hedgehog because the Sonic X Shadow Generations game is coming out next month, as well as the Sonic 3 movie's coming out in December. And I'm a big Shadow the Hedgehog fan. We all like our edge lords out there, so I've been playing the Shadow the Hedgehog game, which is another one of my favorite GameCube games. And so that I don't know as far as like the next stream, I'm not sure when it will be. So for those of you guys watching, just make sure you hit the hit the bell for notification. And I do post on my Twitter, which is at Toa_Nippon, which if you're a Bionicle fan, you would know why I chose, or you know that I'm a Bionicle fan via Toa, but I live in Japan, so that's why I chose Nippon as the name. I always thought about doing a mock of that as well, and doing like a Japanese-inspired Bionicle, but I'm not a mock guy. Like I want to get into it, but I'm not a mock guy anyway. So yeah, so just follow me there, and you'll know when I publish videos and whatnot. And I want to do more Bionicle content because that's just something I really like. I just haven't figured
Yeah,
out a
definitely check
format.
out Legend of Matanui.
Oh
I think
yes,
you'd
yes.
like it. It's quite good. I mean, it was very kind of difficult to play when I played it. I had to use the debug menu to get through some things.
Oh wow.
But I think they've cleaned it up a lot since I played it. So hopefully it's running well.
Yeah. Oh no, no. I definitely that will be on my to-do list, and um, I hope to like. I want to do maybe a month of just Bionicle content in the future, and like go through all those Flash Player games. We can review the animations as well, go through the lore because, yeah, it's just something that it's a part of my childhood that I never want to let go. So, but yeah, if there's nothing else you want to add, man, I'm just gonna close this out by and doing I never do this. I never do a hard end to the stream, but I don't have like an outro. So if you got nothing else to say, man, I appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody that was in the chat that came on by. Also the replay gang. I know I'm gonna try to make a cut version of this video with some visual cues and stuff, so you guys can see what we're talking about. Because yeah, the Bionicle language and the vocabulary taught all of us to read better. So, but yeah, man, once again, appreciate your time, and we'll catch you guys later. Make sure you